March of the Machine: The Aftermath is Magic's next major set, and it's coming out surprisingly soon. But it's unlike anything we've seen before. Aftermath is a standard legal epilogue to the lore-packed conclusion that was March of the Machine. This is Magic's first micro set. But what does that mean, and what do you need to know? Let's jump right into this. Starting off, Aftermath is a standard legal set, meaning all of the cards within it are legal in Standard, Alchemy, Brawl, Historic, and all other formats that cards from March of the Machine were legal in. And, just to clarify if you couldn't tell, Aftermath is coming to Arena in its entirety, and it's actually taking the place of the normal Alchemy set that normally follows Standard sets. The set officially launches on Arena on May 11th, and it hits tabletop on May 12th, so it's coming out just around the corner. However, like I said before, this is not a normal set. Despite everything seeming like it is right now, the entire set is actually only 50 cards, which is about 17% of the size of the main set for March of the Machine. They did this by cutting all of the commons from the set and reducing the number of cards in other rarities. Meaning, in the special Epilogue boosters, you will only get 5 cards per booster and 6 in collector boosters. Epilogue boosters are the set boosters of the set, and so they can range between 1 and 3 rares, with the rest being uncommons. And collector boosters are meant to help you get all the fancy treatments and will have 6 cards and a much higher rare count. There are no draft boosters for Aftermath, and the set is not draftable, so it's only meant for constructed gameplay. And that brings me to the next major detail: the products. There are only Epilogue and collector boosters, along with their associated boxes and a bundle. No commander decks, no jumpstart, no pre-release kits, or anything else of that nature. And that actually makes sense given the smaller nature of the set, and it's almost a little refreshing despite the weird 5 or 6 card booster packs in the set. It's a little bit simpler to wrap your head around. However, despite this smaller nature, there are still a ton of variants and card styles in the set, including the planar styles from March of the Machine, borderless cards, halo foils, extended arts, as well as etched foils and retro frames. These can be found throughout Epilogue and collector boosters, and you should stay tuned for a video where I break down exactly what you get in a collector booster soon, because it's a little complicated and I don't want to waste your time in this video, which is just meant to be a quick rundown of the set. Given that, we know that Aftermath is a 50 card set with 5 card boosters, lots of styles, a more simplified product lineup, and a bunch of cool designs. Let's actually take a look at some of those quickly, because, that's the cool part about Magic. We get to see these really awesome cards. First off, we have a new Danitha. It's a new Selesnya commander that lets you cast aura and equipment spells from your graveyard, along with having a healthy dose of keywords. While this is standard legal, a lot of the cards read like they are meant for commander, and they definitely are, and this is no exception. There are a ton of legendaries, and this was a really interesting one. One of the biggest issues with aura decks and equipment decks is that, one removal spell can set you back so far, but this new commander lets you kind of replay those cards, and you may actually want to get your auras into the graveyard to be able to recast them. And I think it takes something that we've seen a million times over, which is this, aura and artifact equipment, decks. We've seen a lot of them, and this is a brand new way to build it. I think it's a really interesting card because of that. Similarly, Narset shows off her newly desparked nature with a Jeskai legendary creature that says, creatures you control have prowess, and whenever Narset attacks, exile target non-creature non-land card with mana value less than Narset's power from a graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This is a powerful new legendary, and I'm sure it'll be the helm of many new commander decks going forward. We've had a Narset legendary in the past that was incredibly powerful, and we've seen her as a planeswalker for a little while now too, but they have de-sparked her and given her another amazing card with an amazing attack trigger. It's a little bit less powerful than her old version, but it definitely screams fun. A lot of the commanders that let you cast expensive spells for cheap are quite popular, and I love decks like that. So this is one of the cards from the set that I'm like, I may actually build, because it is just really interesting to me. However, the set does have non-legendaries like Leyline Immersion, which lets you enchant a legendary creature for 4 mana and give it War 2, and the ability to tap for 5 mana in any combination of colors that can be only used to cast spells. It's a card clearly aimed at Commander, but it's still really interesting, and I'm really excited to put it into my Jodah Archmage Eternal deck, where I can cast it, and then hopefully tap for 5 immediately after that. It protects Jodah, who's normally a removal magnet, while also letting me, double spell a lot more. It's really cool when cards like this, it screams Jodah to me, but I'm curious what it screams to everyone else. What Commander decks do you want to put these cards in? And that's why I really like talking about spoilers. In the past on my channel, I've done a lot more spoiler talk, and I actually kind of want to bring that back a little bit because I think it's really interesting to look at these new cards and see where they fit, especially in something like Commander where every card can have a home. There's also a major reprint in the set that everyone should know about because it's a card that goes on a lot of decks. It's Training Grounds. It's 1 blue for an enchantment that says, activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. This is a very powerful card that any deck, especially in Commander that has an activated ability, wants to have. I want this for my Zeppler deck. I want this for a couple of my decks that want to reduce the mana cost of abilities, but it has been a fairly expensive card, and now it is being printed as a rare in a standard set. So as long as a decent amount of this gets opened, the price on this should fall pretty drastically, which is really exciting to see. We also have some interesting cards like Ayara's Oathsworn. It's 1 and a black for a creature human knight 2/2 with menace, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, if it has fewer than 4 +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then if it has exactly 4 +1/+1 counters on it, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This is one of those cards that I could actually see having an impact on Standard. A 2/2 for 2 with menace in black seems about right, and then it's going to get bigger and scale as the game goes on. Yes, your opponent's going to get creatures, so they may be able to block it, but it has menace, which makes it hard, and your thing's also getting bigger. And then eventually it lets you go ahead and start getting lots of cards from your library. Seems like a card that may be good even outside of something like Commander, where the rest of the set seems focused. Given that, those are just a couple spoilers from the set. If you want to see my thoughts on more of the cards, let me know in the comments down below or like the video. Also, let me know your thoughts on Aftermath as a whole. Do you like the smaller set format, or do you feel like you are basically paying the same amount for lesser work from Wizards of the Coast? You know, it's a lot of work to put together a set, but they went from around 300 cards to 50. Now, they do still have all the variants and all those cool things, and there is flavor text. And you know, it is definitely telling a story, but it does kind of just feel like a cheaper version of a normal standard set, but we are getting it in addition to March of the Machine. I'm very torn on this set, whether I like it or whether I don't. You know, it's kind of the thought. Do you see this as extras that they're trying to sell to you? Or do you see this as a cool little add-on that's just kind of like March of the Machine, but like a separate product? You know, we've got to the point where March of the Machine came with Jumpstart boosters and set boosters and collector boosters and draft boosters and Commander products, but then there were also Commander products in set boosters, but then also the ones in pre-release kits. And so, you know, sets are no longer just one thing. And so in my mind, I view this as just another product from March of the Machine, but I'm curious how you see it. Will you be picking up any of this? I know there's been a lot of controversy around it, and so I'm really curious what your guys' thoughts are. I'm also going to be running a poll on my community page, so you guys should check that out there as well. If you have any questions at all about the set, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Also, stay tuned for a really big announcement coming up soon. I'm really excited for it. Yeah.